The year is 1902. The American frontier is dying but not dead. In the dusty towns scattered across the plains, where the law is still a day's ride away and hope is as scarce as clean water, people are desperate. Desperate for relief. Desperate for a cure. Desperate enough to trust a man with a smile as wide as the prairie and a remedy bottle glinting in the sunlight. This is the story of a traveling medicine show. But more than that, it's the story of Doctor Elias Hargrove, a man who discovered that in the vast emptiness of the West, you could be anyone you claimed to be. And if you had the right words, the right bottle, and the right lack of conscience, you could make a fortune selling death disguised as salvation. Picture a town square in Redemption Creek, Nevada. Population 237 souls. Give or take whoever died in the mines that week. The sun beats down
Gather
merciless,
around, folks. This bottle
turning
holds
the
a secret
packed
to your
earth
dream.
into
One
something
sip and you'll be
hard as
stronger
stone.
than a bull. Who's
But
in?
today,
Get out
there's
here, Mills.
excitement.
Try fight.
A wagon has arrived.
Patient,
painted
the
in
Grim Wheel is
bold
coming.
red letters.
And now for the
Dr.
miracle.
Hargrove's miraculous vitality tonic cures all ailments known to man.
I won't be
Dr.
run out
Hargrove
of this
himself stands on a wagon
This is
bed,
my stand.
tall and lean, dressed in a black suit that somehow stayed clean despite 3 weeks on the trail. His hair is slicked back with pomade, his mustache waxed to perfect points. He looks like what people imagine a doctor should look like. That's the first trick. Ladies and gentlemen, good people of Redemption Creek, I come to you today not as a merchant, but as a messenger of modern science. In my hands, I hold the culmination of 20 years of medical research. This elixir has been tested in the finest hospitals of Boston, prescribed by the most learned physicians in New York, and praised by grateful patients from San Francisco to Charleston. The crowd presses closer. There's Martha Hennessy, whose arthritis has twisted her hands into claws. Tom Bickford, coughing blood into his handkerchief from consumption. Young Sarah Mills, pale and weak from what the local doctor called female hysteria. They've all heard promises before, but they listen anyway, because what else is there? This
People of
magnificent
Redemption
tonic,
Creek,
Hargrove continues,
then fight with me
holding
now.
up a dark glass bottle. Contains rare herbs from the Orient, minerals from the Andes Mountains, and a secret ingredient passed down from Indian medicine men. It purifies the blood, strengthens the constitution, and restores vigor to even the most depleted system. What Dr. Hargrove doesn't mention is what's actually in that bottle. Alcohol, of course. Cheap grain alcohol, about 40%. That's standard for patent medicines. Makes people feel better temporarily, makes them believe it's working. But the rest? Opium extract, cocaine, chloroform, mercury compounds. And because Hargrove is particularly enterprising, a healthy dose of strychnine. Strychnine, in small doses, it's a stimulant. Makes your heart race, gives you energy, makes people think they're being cured when really they're being poisoned. The trick is the dosage. Too little, and there's no effect. Too much, and you've got a corpse and questions to answer. Hargrove has perfected the balance. Enough to make people feel something powerful, not quite enough to kill them. At least, not right away. By sundown, Hargrove has sold 63 bottles at $2 each. That's more than most miners make in a month. He'll stay in town for 2 days, just long enough to sell his stock and hear the first testimonials. I slept through the night for the first time in years. My cough is better. I have energy again. These people aren't lying. They do feel different. The opium helps them sleep. The cocaine gives them energy. The alcohol numbs the pain. But here's what happens after Dr. Hargrove leaves town. Here's the part he never stays to see. 3 days after taking the tonic, Martha Hennessy's hands start to tremble. Not from arthritis now, but from something else. Muscle spasms. Her heart races at night, keeping her awake. She takes more tonic, thinking she hasn't taken enough. The trembling gets worse. Tom Bickford does feel better at first. The cocaine in the tonic suppresses his cough, gives him an appetite. But his consumption is still there, eating
This
away
place is
at his
buzzing
hopes.
tonight.
And
Yeah,
now he's
I love
taking
the
something
energy.
that's
Another round?
accelerating his heart, while his
Good
body
company and
is
better
already
whiskey.
struggling to
Here,
get
here.
oxygen. 2
Smooth
weeks
as
after
silk, boys.
Hargrove leaves, Tom collapses in the mine, dead at 31. Young Sarah Mills becomes addicted to the tonic within days. The opium hooks her fast. She starts buying bottles from anyone who has one, paying more than she should. When she can't get more, The withdrawal makes her sicker than she ever was before. Her family thinks she's dying from her original condition. They don't understand that she's dying from a cure. Dr. Hargrove, of course, is 2 towns away by then. He never calls himself Hargrove in the next town. There, he's Dr. Thornton. The wagon gets a new coat of paint. The bottles have a different label, Thornton's Restorative Elixir. But inside, it's the same poison. You might wonder how a man becomes this kind of monster. Hargrove wasn't always a fraud. Once, he actually was a medical student. This was back in Baltimore, 1875. He was brilliant, actually. Top of his class for 2 years. But brilliance without money doesn't get you far.
Please, he's not
Medical
breathing.
school is
Help
expensive.
me, please. We have to do
Elias
something.
Hargrove was the son of shopkeeper, not a banker. When his father died and the money ran out, Hargrove left school 6 months before graduating. No degree meant no legitimate practice, but he learned enough to be dangerous. He knew anatomy, pharmacology, chemistry. He knew which substances affected the body and how. More importantly, he learned that people judge a doctor by his confidence, not his credentials. He joined a traveling show first, not as a doctor, but as a regular pitchman selling somebody else's snake oil. But Hargrove was observant. He watched how the crowds responded. He learned that people don't want complicated explanations. They want simple miracles. They want to believe that one bottle can solve everything. He also learned something darker. He learned that in the territories, far from big cities and medical boards, nobody checks if you're really a doctor. Nobody verifies your claims. And if people die after taking your medicine, well, they were sick to begin with, weren't they? By the time he struck out on his own, Hargrove had perfected his formula. Not the medicine itself, which was poison dressed up as cure, but the formula for selling it. Arrive in town with fanfare. Look respectable. Use big words. Invoke authority. Create urgency. Price it high enough that people think it's valuable, low enough that desperate people will scrape together the money. Sell fast. Leave faster. The years blur together. Town after town. Redemption Creek, Silver Falls, Broken Bow, Rattlesnake Junction. Hargrove estimates he's sold over 10,000 bottles. He doesn't know how many people he's killed. He doesn't let himself think about it. The money helps him not think about it. By 1902, he's wealthy. He's got money in banks under 4 different names. He could retire, buy a house somewhere, live comfortably. But he doesn't. Because the thing about getting away with evil is that it becomes normal. It becomes just what you do. Then comes the town of Bitterwater, Arizona Territory. Bitterwater is bigger than most of the places Hargrove visits. Almost 1,000 people. It's at a railroad stop, a real hotel, even a telegraph office. And it's got something Hargrove hasn't encountered in a while, a real doctor. Dr. Samuel Garrett has been practicing in Bitterwater for 15 years. He's 58 years old, properly trained in Philadelphia, and deeply tired. Tired of watching people die from preventable diseases. Tired of fighting superstition. Tired of seeing his patients waste money on worthless remedies when they should be saving it for real treatment. When Hargrove rolls into town with his wagon and his promises, Garrett watches from his office window. He's seen these snake oil salesmen before. Usually he ignores them. They sell, they leave, and life goes on. But something about this one bothers him. Garrett walks to the town square and stands at the edge of the crowd, listening to Hargrove's pitch. He hears the medical terms being thrown around, deliberately misused. He hears diseases being described incorrectly. He watches Hargrove demonstrate his tonic on a volunteer, a young man who drinks it down and within minutes is vibrating with energy, pupils dilated. Cocaine, Garrett thinks. Maybe strychnine. When Hargrove opens the sale, Garrett steps forward. "Excuse me, Dr. Hargrove. I'm Dr. Samuel Garrett. I practice medicine here in Bitterwater. I wonder if you'd mind telling these good people exactly what's in your tonic? The specific ingredients and proportions?" Hargrove's smile doesn't waver. He's handled challenges before. "Dr. Garrett, how wonderful to meet a fellow man of medicine. I'm afraid the exact formula is proprietary, you understand. Trade secrets. But I assure you, every ingredient has been thoroughly tested and approved." "Approved by whom?" "The medical community at large, sir. I have testimonials from hundreds of satisfied patients." "Testimonials aren't science, Dr. Hargrove. And I notice you haven't actually answered my question. What's in the bottle? The crowd is watching now, uncertain. This isn't part of the show. Hargrove can feel control slipping. I've practiced medicine for 20 years, Dr. Garrett, from Boston to San Francisco. I don't believe I need to justify my methods to a small-town practitioner. It's a mistake. Garrett lives here. These are his people. Insulting him insults them. Then you won't mind if I purchase a bottle and have it analyzed. The university in Tucson has a chemistry department. We can find out exactly what you're selling. Hargrove does what he always does when trouble starts. He packs up. By midnight, he's gone, wagon rattling down the road toward the next territory. He's left money behind, bottles unsold. But he's also left before any real questions could be asked. Garrett does buy a bottle from one of the townsfolk who purchased before Hargrove left. And he does have it analyzed. The report comes back 3 weeks later. The chemist in Tucson is horrified. He lists the contents: ethanol, opium extract, cocaine hydrochloride, chloroform, mercury compounds, strychnine. In his note, he writes, "Dr. Garrett, this isn't medicine. This is poison. Prolonged use would certainly result in addiction, organ failure, and quite possibly death. Who is selling this?" Garrett sends
Move along now. You
telegrams
can't stay here.
to the
All right,
medical
I'm
board
going.
in Santa
Keep
Fe,
moving.
to law enforcement in neighboring towns, to newspapers. He describes Hargrove, describes the wagon, describes the bottles. The telegraph wires carry his warning across the territories. For the first time in years, Elias Hargrove finds towns where he's expected, where sheriffs are waiting, where his wagon is recognized before he can set up. He changes routes, heads into more remote areas. But something has shifted. The news has spread. And more importantly, in one town where Hargrove sold his tonic 2 years ago, people have started comparing notes. They've realized how many people got sick after taking the miracle cure. How many died? A warrant is issued. Fraud. Manslaughter. Practicing medicine without a license. November 1902. Hargrove is caught in a town called Devil's Gate, Wyoming. Not by lawmen, but by the father of a girl who died after taking his tonic. The man's name is Jacob Miller, and his daughter Clara was 16 years old. Jacob Miller shoots Elias Hargrove twice.
You got some
in the
nerve
chest
showing your face
outside
here.
A boarding house.
This town's big
When the
enough for the
sheriff
both of us.
arrives,
Now, while
Miller
I'm
is still standing there, gun in hand, staring at Hargrove's body. "He killed my girl," Miller says. "Sold her poison and called it medicine." Miller is arrested. He's charged with murder. But when the trial happens, something unusual occurs. Dr. Garrett travels to Devil's Gate to testify. He brings the chemical analysis. He brings testimonials from families of other victims. He brings evidence of Hargrove's fraud, his false identities, his trail of death. The jury deliberates for 20 minutes. Not guilty. Jacob Miller walks free. The judge, in a statement, says that while the court cannot condone vigilante justice, it understands that when the law fails to protect people from predators, sometimes they protect themselves. Elias Hargrove is buried in an unmarked grave in Devil's Gate. His wagon is burned. His remaining bottles are destroyed. The money in his bank accounts is eventually distributed to victims' families, though no amount of money brings back the dead. Dr. Samuel Garrett continues practicing in Bitterwater until his death in 1919. He never speaks publicly about the Hargrove case, but he keeps the chemical analysis in his desk drawer for the rest of his life. A reminder that the Hippocratic Oath, first, do no harm, means something. But here's the thing about this story. Hargrove wasn't unique. He was one of hundreds, maybe thousands, of traveling medicine show doctors selling poison as cure across America in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The Pure Food and Drug Act wouldn't pass until 1906, and even then, enforcement was weak. These men, and some women too, they understood something fundamental about human nature. Desperate people will believe desperate promises. And in places where real medical care is expensive or unavailable, snake oil sells itself. Some of those old patent medicines are still around. You can find the bottles in antique shops. Beautiful glass, ornate labels, promises of miracles. Cures cancer, restores youth, guaranteed relief. They're artifacts now, reminders of a time when medicine was as much fraud as science. But if you think we're past that, you're not paying attention. The methods are slicker now. The bottles are plastic instead of glass. The pitches happen on television and internet ads instead of from the back of a wagon. But the fundamental con is the same. Sell hope. Sell fear. Sell the promise that complex problems have simple solutions, available for 3 easy payments of $19.99. The American West of the 1800s was a hard place. People died young from diseases we can cure now with antibiotics. Women died in childbirth. Children died from infections. The desperation was real. But the worst kind of evil is the kind that exploits desperation, that sees suffering and thinks, how can I profit from this? Elias Hargrove saw that suffering. He understood chemistry well enough to know exactly what he was doing. He wasn't ignorant. He was calculating. He knew the opium would cause addiction. He knew the strychnine would damage organs. He knew the mercury would accumulate in bodies and cause long-term poisoning. He knew, and he didn't care. That's what makes this story twisted. Not just that a man sold poison, but that he did it with full knowledge, with a smile, with confidence. That he looked desperate mothers in the eye and took their last dollars in exchange for something he knew might kill their children. And he did it for years, built a fortune on it, slept well at night, presumably. The grave in Devil's Gate is still there, they say, though nobody's tended it in over a century. No marker, no flowers. Just a plot of dirt where a monster is buried. Some locals claim that on certain nights, when the wind blows right, you can hear the sound of bottles clinking together. The ghost of medicine show, they say, a reminder. But that's just superstition. Old West tales told to pass the time. The real horror isn't supernatural. It's human. It's the fact that a man could do what Hargrove did, and that he was just one of many. The doctor who sold poison as medicine. He's dead now. They're all dead now, all those frontier snake oil salesmen. But the impulse that created them, the willingness to exploit the vulnerable for profit, that's still alive, still selling, still promising, still poisoning, just in different bottles, with different labels, making different claims. But the same old lies, the same old twisted tale.